Hold on. Joe, you spoke earlier this week about how hard it was to get the guys up from how flat they were on the weekend. How did you get them then to the stage where they put out what they did tonight?
Yeah, it's definitely not me. I thought Alan Alatoa came in and spoke to the players. He hurt his shoulder in the 14th minute, played the whole first half with one wing, and worked his way through that last week. And I think it was a little bit of the inspiration the players needed yesterday. We were flat early in the week and we got a little bit of an upswing, but I really think Alan helped because he's certainly one of the leadership group with Harry and a few others. And I think they really earned whatever they got tonight.
Joe, I mean, you've seen a lot in your career, but just the last 7 days, and that lightning delay as well. In terms of sort of weeks, is this one of the sort of more proud ones you've done in golf?
Yeah, certainly one of the more bizarre. Like that's the longest Test match I've ever been involved in, with a big hiatus in the 43rd minute. But I couldn't be a lot prouder of the way that the players rebounded after last week, after the feeling of kind of disappointment that they had, and it was deep, and you almost had to let that run its course and then springboard back, and even the number of changes we made, losing some of those talismanic players like Alan Alatoa, that made it tough.
Harry, for yourself, and you're very good around the ball book, but when your lightning delay goes off, are you sort of questioning wasn't it process?
Yeah, it was the first time I've ever had that, but I guess the coach, Joe, spoke to us before and said it could happen, so we sort of had a little plan in place for that, which helped it there. But yeah, I think a few boys' bodies got pretty tight on that little break, so we're happy to come out after that and play pretty well.
Joe, just on that, having that 40 minutes delay, did that change how you were use guys like Tanner and Super and Scott?
Yeah, not so much, because we'd only just got back out there again, and you have enough of a break that it wasn't really a change in what our strategy was, but we probably did play them another 5 minutes longer than they otherwise would have played, but not a massive amount more. And for Tanella, Zane Nongo came on and did a really good job, and Jeremy Williams obviously stole the line out, put the chased and won the line out back again by putting a guy into touch, and then got on the ball, got through and got on the ball. So Jeremy came on and added real value in behind Will's effort through that first 60 odd minutes.
Does it now feel, Joe, like you were one decision away from winning that series?
Again, we can't get those points back. We can only try to win the points that are ahead of us. So I think I've said before, I'm very boring and pragmatic, and all we can do is try to affect what happens to us in the future and try to control as much of that as possible by trying to grow. The one thing I would say is I felt we grew through the series. We lost the first half of the series poorly. We won the second half. We played well in the first half of the second test. Didn't succeed eventually in that test, but I felt we deserved to win both halves today, albeit maybe not on the scoreboard just at the end, but I felt we fought our way through very difficult conditions and got destabilised a couple of times, but fought our way through that as well.
Joe, you said that you had grown through the series, which obviously you did. Is any regrets in hindsight of only having the one warm-up game against Fiji and maybe not being battle-hardened going into Brisbane?
Yeah, I guess it just is what it is. Again, I'm not great at looking back and having regrets. I'm just trying to plan a way forward. With the Super Rugby finishing when it did, even then we didn't get the Brumbies back until quite late before we played that Fijian game, and so by the time we'd done that, and we lost Noah, that was a pretty big loss for us. And then Tom Liner did such a fantastic job making his starting debut for the Wallabies in those 3 tests we've just had, and then losing him with 30 plus minutes to go. I felt we kind of worked our way through that. So yeah, maybe, but I'm not really going to look back at maybes. I'm just going to try to take a breath probably, and then think about what's next in the rugby championship.
Joe, what about that shot on the Dan Sheehan on the line? It looked like it should have been a card. How do you affect him?
I haven't really had a good look at it. The game finished. I've got massive respect for Dan, and there's a few things like that will happen in a really physical contest, because you didn't have anywhere else to go tonight. With the rain coming down, we tried to play a bit, I felt, in that first 30 minutes, and we did okay a couple of times, but it was very hard to play, just with how tough the ball was. For us with Tom, he is still a young kid, and we'll try to look after him and make sure that he's fully fit on the back of getting that knock. But I had a good chat to him after the game, and he's pretty resilient.
Jerry, just on the wider subject, do you think that the role of the television match official, is it, the rugby was at rise at the moment, is it when they went back to look at a couple of non-incidents and then they miss something quite big like that?
Yeah, again, I get the fine-tooth comb out and I go through the game post. In live, we didn't see Tom's incident, and it was probably a little bit later that we got a glimpse of it, and that's all I've seen so far. So I'd rather not comment on it until I've seen it, but there's always a difficulty for a TMO, I guess. He's watching in the main, the TV broadcast, and then if he doesn't pick it up there, then he doesn't access the other angles, because everything's happening so quickly.
During the lightning the delay from the vision we saw, which we got a fair bit of in the dressing rooms, you both seem to take very different approaches, and you didn't see what the light doing, but you look way more switched on. You're having one-on-ones. You're having, I saw Jeff Parling reviewing some of the players. How important did you feel it was to stay tuned in during that period? And you guys got out about 5 minutes before the Lions and did a longer warm-up. Do you think you maybe won that little battle?
Yeah, as I said, Rory, I'm not sure what they did, but I know what we did. We had been warned that there might be lightning, so we had a little bit of a plan. And with that plan, we wanted to make sure that players kept moving. So we had different guys rotating onto the bikes. We had a couple of bikes, so they were doing that. We had 4 balls in the changing room that we've just thrown around just so they could stay connected. And the rest of the time, it was really just trying to get us organised for the restart of the game. We knew that we were kicking for touch and what we were going to do after that. And then it didn't work, but we had a plan to get round the corner. And then Taniela, I thought it was a great burst. I thought the big fella was almost going to go all the way until he didn't have the ball in his hands. But, at the same time, it was, the players stayed dialed in really well.
Charlie, Joe spoke about Alan coming here on Friday. Can you share with us what he said, the message he was? Why it resonated?
Well, I guess the thing with Alan, what he says, he delivers, and he's spoken to us quite a bit about willing to put your body on the line for the Tens, whatever it takes to win. And in that game in Melbourne, he tore his shoulder pretty early, and he put his body on the line for the next 25 minutes. And he's probably the most integral part of our team, our squad. He's the leader in every facet of it. And so when he came and spoke to us the day before a game about what we need to be willing to do for each other to win a game, it really did hit home, because firstly, because there's evidence of what he's done, and secondly, he's just the most important an influential person around us. So I feel so happy that we got the result today. So yeah, he can be proud of us.
You feel in general that you know, if you win in a competitive series and you respect back on the jersey, that you know, it feels like there's been plenty of disrespect shown to Australia in terms of around the world over the last year or so. Do you think you've done it?
I do think so. I think the amount of support we had this week was truly special to see a lot of the rugby public behind us, and we knew we had to put our performance tonight to not just have a one-off everyone behind us. We had to go out there and put a good performance on, and we did that, and we got a win. So hopefully we're on the way of that, and for us, we're about to go to South Africa to verse the best test team in the world. So we've got another epic battle ahead of us, and the one thing we will take from tonight is a lot of confidence, and probably last week too.
Joe, on that note, what can this victory do for Australian rugby, do you think, on a wider scale, big lines in front of 80,000 people? How can that boost Australian rugby?
Yeah, the crowds have been absolutely awesome. You know, Suncorp was full, tonight was full, 90,000+ in the MCG. And that's the nature of the Lions, right? That wasn't all us. That's the sea of red and the nature of Lions to us. So we knew that wasn't all for us, but we just started to see more and more yellow as the tour went on. And even this morning, a lot of the players, because you're not playing till 8 o'clock at night, it's actually quite a long day. A lot of the players were meeting up with friends and family, and you just saw a lot of gold scarves, gold jerseys, and people who were supporting us. And it does, I believe, it does give the players a little bit of a lift. And you know, it makes them a little bit accountable as well. They feel like we're getting the support, we've got to make sure we keep earning it.
Do you think you witnessed to wrestle back some eyeballs from other sports, like the 2 NRL games in Sydney, you're out Sydney tonight, so 80,000 people, I know they weren't all Aussie fans, but that's been part of the challenge, isn't it? Trying to get people in love with rugby union.
Yeah, it has been, and I think, you know, I don't know what the stats are or the TV numbers are or anything else, but what I do know is how hard these players work, and if people want to come and support a team that are prepared to work hard, then this is a good team, particularly as a national team that, you know, globally, it's a big tournament coming up in 2 years' time, and the more support we can earn, the better we can grow and progress as a team over the next year and beyond. I just think the more support we can probably attract to the game.
Joe, when Andy Farrell was in here before, he said that he told you that he thinks the Wallabies are building towards something really special in 2 years' time. Do you believe that?
I believe everything Faz tells me, you know. Yeah, Faz and I would be good friends, go back a long way, have worked together a lot, and would also be quite like-minded around probably studying other teams. And I'd like to think that he's right.
With that in mind, I mean, you're standing down in a year's time. Do nights like this give you cause to reconsider whether you might want to stay on and see 27?
I'm looking forward to Liz Kiss, you know, coming in and taking over. I actually apologised to the players a little while ago. I bit one of their heads off, and my son had a bad day, and I can normally separate the two things, but it does impact me when he's had a bad day, and so I know that I have a short enough shelf life, and need to be more present at home. I haven't been home for 2 months, so you know, as much as I just think they're a great group of young men. There's other things that I need to make sure I tick off.
Last two, please. Joe, you mentioned it a bit. We've obviously got going to go to South Africa. You've got a squad to name. And all the rest of you. Can you just give me a running check on Jake Porter's fitness? Is Nick White going to have the shortest test retirement in history?
Yeah.
And just your overall perspective on guys like Tom Hoover, was great tonight, but he's obviously heading overseas, and we'll keep including these guys in the room.
Yeah, I think with Tom, he's very keen to be back in time for the World Cup. So we kind of, I'd like to think that his sojourn in Exeter is a little bit of a sabbatical, and that he'll be back. And he's growing as a player. I think he's really improved from last year. Yeah, Whitey will rival me maybe in terms of being a kind of like Johnny Farnham. You know, there's one more tour, and Jake did pick up a little bit of a hamstring right at the end of training on Thursday, and so. Yeah, we're just tracking and seeing how that goes, but we're not going to take risks with people. So, yeah, what we'll do is probably announce an updated squad on Wednesday. It won't be massively different because people earn the gold jersey, and there's some guys who did that tonight.
So, Joe, you meant to clarify with the like Tom Hooper, Daniela, Langley, these guys are all in that team, but you're not going to use them in the race.
They're certainly available to us. Yeah.
Last one with Jared, please.
Joe, you mentioned the lines off the pitch. What have you made of the lines on the pitch? How do you think history might judge them?
Yeah, it's always difficult to say. You know, their first half and the first test, that was as good as I'd seen them, and then I felt since then we've inched our way back into the series that they won, and they'll be judged as winners because that's what happened. And I know a lot of their players very, very well and have a lot of admiration for them. I rate their coaching staff highly, and I tip my hat to what was a highly successful tour. And I'm delighted that we managed to get one back at least.
Thanks, all. Appreciate it, Tom.
Thank you. Thanks, lads.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, Tom.